What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with EnderIO, and today we're going to be discussing the Weather Obelisk, which is a relatively self-explanatory block. It is an obelisk that allows you to control the weather. Now, unfortunately, it's not as simple as that, but it is still pretty simple to actually get working, and it's not very expensive compared to a lot of the other blocks from other mods that allow you to control the weather. The only downside is it does require the production of EnderIO fluids, which means you are going to need to use the vat like we've been using the last couple of episodes, but trust me when I say it's really not that bad. So we're going to be covering the last 3 EnderIO fluids that are offered, and if we look in the vat, go to the recipes, they are on the last page. We've covered the other 6, at least briefly, but the last 3 are going to be the ones used to change the weather. So we've got liquid sunshine, which is going to allow you to turn it to daytime. You're going to be using firewater to make this, so this one's not as cheap as you might like, but it's only going to require then some glowstone and some sunflowers to make, and that means if you've got bone meal, steady supply of bone meal, and if you're using something like, I guess it would be either the void resource miner, or really anything to generate glowstone, you should be good to do this, and it doesn't really require that much to make. But yeah, that allows you to turn it to be daytime, and then you're going to be able to use water along with clay and snow to make cloud seed, which is going to make it rain, and then you can use that cloud seed along with some more clay, no other ingredient, to make concentrated cloud seed. And what this is going to do is it's going to turn at nighttime, make it rain, and actually make it storm out. So this would be the second most useful one, I would say, considering you might want to use this for, if I recall correctly, Witchery needed it to be storming occasionally. But yeah, pretty much I think the most useful one is going to be the liquid sunshine. But other than that, you've got these 3 fluids right here. Not really bad to make, but we're going to be covering all of these relatively briefly today. And I feel that this is how the mod actually balances out how cost effective, I would say, the Weather Obelisk itself is, because it does not require much power or expensive items to function like other mods like Draconic Evolution, which requires significantly more power to actually get running. So I've been rambling for a fair bit now. We're going to get into the crafting of this and actually show you how it works. First things first, we are going to need to make the Weather Obelisk itself. So there's a couple different things we need to make to actually set this up. So we go to the Weather Obelisk and you see that it takes 3 Solarium, 2 Energetic Alloy, a basic capacitor, and a Weather Crystal. I'm actually going to be making 3 of these because of the 3 different liquids. Each one has its own internal buffer, and eventually you might be producing liquid and not use all of it up, and then you're not going to be able to put the other liquid in to make it function. If you're only going to be using it to turn it daytime, you're only going to need 1, and if you're a little bit clever with how you actually input the liquid, you'll still only need 1, but if you're just going to throw whatever liquid you make in there, I would suggest making all 3 of them. So we're going to make the 3 weather crystals, and then we can throw those back in there. We're going to need 3 capacitor banks. Oh, gotta grab out all 3. Guess we should get all those right there. Okay, so now we have all 3 of those, and now we should finally be able to make all 3 of the Weather Obelisks. So not very expensive to make. Obviously, the Weather Crystal is the most expensive part, requiring 2 Vibrant Crystals, 2 Pulsating Crystals, and 1 Ender Crystal per. But all in all, not that bad, especially because we've got a lot of Endermen to work with in there. No matter how much I kill them, there's still a ton left. So now we've got the Weather Obelisk, but this can't function on its own. Even if you've got the liquid in there, even if you've got the power in there, and everything is good to go and you're super excited and ready, well, you can't make it function yet until you make fireworks. So might seem a little bit weird, a little bit annoying, but you don't need to make any special type of firework. You don't need to invest anything other than 1 piece of gunpowder and 1 piece of paper to make the firework rocket. As simple as they come, and this one should work. You can put in more expensive ones if you really wanted to, but they won't make any difference. So we've got those in there. Now, I recall that the older Weather Obelisk, and this is the one that's documented online pretty much everywhere, whatever wiki you look at, I always see this, and I went online because I'd never heard of this before, but everyone has very old info saying what it requires, how much power it requires, so that's why I thought I'd make this video. Is there really isn't much documentation online, but it has changed a lot since the previous Weather Obelisk, which required kind of random stuff being pumped into it, unlike this one. But now we've got all this stuff, we should be good to go. So we can head outside and actually start working. Now I am going to set it up right over here. Not a very large area, but we really don't need that much space. So what we can do is take the 3 Weather Obelisks and put them down I'm going to put them down so that we can pretty much use the same fluid conduit on all of them. It'll be a little bit weird, but we can pretty much just change the connection when we're initially putting the fluids in. So we can do that, and we're going to use a pressurized fluid conduit for these to make sure everything gets moved out, and then we can just go over and we can just disable 2 of them for the time being. So there we go, and now it'll only go into 1, and then we can easily activate the other ones once we've actually got a fluid in here, and we're no longer going to have to worry about the same fluid going into the other 2. So what we're going to need to do next is set up the vat. Now I think 1 vat should be perfectly fine considering it'll all get pumped out, but it might get a little bit annoying for today's episode, so I might need to dump a little bit of fluid, but keep in mind, I really don't plan on using this that much in my world. I think it just might be more effective for you guys if you've got access to other mods to actually help you get stuff like glowstone or things of that nature. So the first thing that we're going to work with is going to be the liquid sunshine, which is going to require sunflowers and glowstone or glowstone dust. So what we're going to do is you get 1 sunflower, and then you can place it down pretty much anywhere. I'll put it down right here, and you just take some bone meal, hold down right click, and boom, all the sunflowers you could possibly need. So we've got 15 now, way more than enough. We can throw those in there. We can throw some of the glowstone dust in there. It should be the same ratio if you use dust or a block. It's 0.25 per of dust or 1 block, so obviously 0.25 times 4 is 1, so it really doesn't really matter which one you're using. And then I have some fire water right here. I made it off camera using the other vats just because I don't really feel like automating this right now. It requires me getting blaze powder, and I don't really, I feel like something just moved. I don't know. I thought something moved me. I must be losing my mind right now, but I don't really feel like setting up an automated blaze farm just yet, so I can't automate the production of fire water. But I have the 2 buckets right here. We should be able to just dump these in there. So 1, 2, we got the fire water in there, more than enough for what we're going to actually need to show right now. And as soon as we power this using the dimensional transceiver, we should be good to go. Now what I'm going to do is put the dimensional transceiver down right here, and we can come over and hook up some energy conduits. Very low tier ones, but they need to go to all of this just because we are not going to be getting power to these from anything else, so they need to get power from this. They don't require much power. I'll cover the exact numbers in a little bit, but they do need some power. So we need to set this to actually be receiving power so it can function, and boom, you can see these are all getting power. This is starting to function here, and it'll start producing that. So once this is ready, it should pump out into this one right here, and you can see it's starting to fill up, so I guess now is a great time to talk about the power. Very slowly filling up. It has 100,000 RF internal buffer. You cannot add capacitors to this, so you're stuck with whatever values it's given to you. So not a very big internal buffer, but luckily with the liquid being put into it, with the firework rocket that you're putting into it, you only need another 5,000 RF to actually launch it. So you need 1 bucket of whatever liquid you're launching, 1,000 millibuckets, and then 5,000 RF, and that's it, and you're good to go. So it really isn't that expensive if you think about it. A lot of other mods are just like, hey, give us 100,000 RF, and then it's good to go. Well, if you really think about it, if you automate everything, it'll cost less to actually get this setup functioning in the long run. So it's actually very cost effective compared to a lot of other mods. There might be, super OP mods out there that require basically nothing to change it, but I think this is one of the best ones, and actually one of the coolest when you launch off the firework. So we can see that this is producing it. It's not super fast. We're at 750 right now, so we will configure this to just push out this side, and it should all get deposited in here, and eventually this will empty out. Thankfully, I made it a pressurized fluid conduit so that we could do that. If you use a regular fluid conduit, you're not actually going to be able to fully empty it and do this setup where you just kind of alternate on what fluids are coming out. But once it finishes this last one here, we should be good to actually test this out. So we've got liquid sunshine in here. Now, unfortunately, it is daytime, so we probably can't launch this off right now. But if we were to put 1 firework in here, assuming it was actually the correct conditions, we would be able to hit this check mark right there, and we would be good to go. So I think what I'm going to do is hop off camera. I'm going to let this finish processing. I'm going to start actually processing the other stuff. I will let that go all the way through, so we've got at least 1 bucket for all of these to test out. Then we'll hop back, and we will actually get to see it in action. Okay guys, so we are back now. All the fluids are ready. I've got 2,000 millibuckets in this one, we've got 1,000 in this one, and then another 2,000 in this one. So at least enough for one launch of each one to test it out. Now as you can see, it's already daytime. This one cannot fire, but if we were to go over this, it can, and this one it also can. So I think the first one that we're going to do is the one that's going to turn it to nighttime, and it's going to make it storm and rain. So we'll launch this one off right now. So it should take one bucket, and it should take, and we're not going to be able to see it, but it should take pretty much 5,000 RF. So you can see it progress right there, and it goes up. It's got some really cool particle effects as it goes up, which is why I made sure to turn it on. Now you'll notice it starts raining, it'll become nighttime, and then it will start storming. So I'll wait until that happens so we can actually see the process. The first time I was testing this out, I didn't realize it made it storm because it took so long for there to be some lightning, but there we go. And now if we look over here, hey, we can launch this one off. And if we look over here, we can launch this one off too, because technically it would change the weather in this case. So we're going to launch off this one now. So you can see the rocket there, and you can see it's slowly getting charged up. So it's going to use another bucket of that and 5,000 RF. And once it's done, it will fire off. And we get to see some nice yellow particle effects up there. Again, really, really cool. One of the main reasons I like this. And boom, now it's becoming daytime again. It has stopped raining, and we are good to go with the last one, which is the cloud seed. So we can start this one. Obviously, you guys should know what's going to happen now. We're going to get this nice kind of teal colored particle effects along with the rocket, and it will become cloudy and start raining. And I guess that is where we will leave it off then, on a little bit of a sad note with it raining. There we go, the nice cool teal. I guess they were more kind of like purplish blue particle effects, but there we go. Now it's raining, but it's not storming. It's just cloudy out. It's not even nighttime, so we couldn't sleep this one away. But I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you found it entertaining or informative in any way, please feel free to give it a like, as it does help me out a lot. And I will talk to you guys later.